Time for another upgrade. So this is the next logical step in my transducer experiment here. We've already got an upgraded unit. Went from the Aura Pros to the Buttkicker Mini LFEs. These guys are from Buttkicker themselves, and they are rubber isolation feet. I need 16 of them for my seats. You may need less. They also have larger models. These are the small ones. These are the same ones that come in some of their kits. And they are pliable but quite firm rubber. They're not hard plastic. They're about the same size and look about the same as the ones on my seats now, but the ones on my seats are firm, hard plastic. There's no give. They're just there to support the frame, not do anything else. So the point of isolation feet is to isolate one part from another. Much like the ones that you put on subwoofers, you want the vibrations that are being done by the transducers to only go through the couch. If you have a firm foot, or if you have a solid wood foot that's part of the seat itself and it's directly on the floor, even if it's carpet, that energy from the butt kicker or base shaker or anything is going to try to go through and vibrate the floor. These stop that. These should be removable caps, and they are. That's for use on carpet, which I don't need. And you can see the device here. It's basically just a washer and a big thick piece of rubber. So I'll be able to unbolt my existing feet, put these in place, and what we should get is more feeling, without changing a thing, in the seat from the existing transducers. This is recommended simply for all transducer setups, no matter which brand, no matter which type. Now some of them, you don't have a choice. If you have the kind that are in the teeter-totter that go underneath a foot, you're gonna have these as part of the kit anyway, because you have to then level the rest of the seats because that teeter-totter bumps up the level of the 1 foot that it's underneath. If you have Croson, for example, same thing. They're actually bigger because it's a whole big plate that moves up and down. It's not a teeter-totter, it's one big unit that the seat sits on, and then they have big isolation feet that go in the other corners. So let's stick them on, and it'll be a completely subjective test. If you guys watched my last video, you saw all the charts I did. They don't correlate to what you actually feel, but I've got a really great test scene, the opening couple minutes of Bloodshot, and we're gonna do a before and after. Let's get them on. So you can clearly see the difference in the feet design here. These are the stocks that are coming off. Just solid plastic, absolutely no give. Just about the same size. It's not going to raise the couch anything significant. Note that some systems do. You can get an inch or two rise depending on what you're putting on here. I didn't want to raise this up I wanted to raise it up as little as possible, so these fit the bill just fine. And again, this totally depends on the system you're using and most importantly, the floor that you're on. If you have a wooden frame or a floating hardwood floor, these are even more important. I have a concrete floor that has the bamboo directly glued to it, so it's very solid. I don't know how much of an effect this is going to have, but the entire reason I want transducers to begin with is because of that floor, because nothing gets transmitted from my subs through the floor to the seats. So I'll keep going. I'm about halfway there. All right, so install's done. First impressions of sitting on it, a couple actually cool things. First, it does ever so slightly raise it up. You can see the feet under there. Whereas before these fake feet, you couldn't see a gap, but now there's about a 1 finger gap. Not a huge deal whatsoever. The cool thing is, because they're nice sticky rubber now, no more sliding of the seats when you sit in it. Sometimes when you would get in it, if you would kind of plop yourself down, it would push back a little bit, it would slide, because the front are on carpet and the back were on the bamboo. And the hard rubber, I mean, it doesn't, not the hard rubber, the hard plastic, it doesn't keep anything in place. And that fixed it, so that's really cool. Now the downside to that is, if you're the type that slides their furniture around for whatever reason, you got to pick it up now. This does not slide. You try to move this at all, and it's just, nope, not going anywhere. So you got to actually lift it and rotate it. All right, now for the test. Firing up the opening of Bloodshot again. The specific part of the scene where it's great for this is when he first goes up to the door, there's gunshots through it, and then he breaches it with smoke and grenades. Absolutely gives the seats a workout. All low frequency, sub bass, impacts, all at once. It's really good. All right, so in my case, the difference is very small. Nothing day and night. Didn't know what to expect, like I said, because it greatly depends on what type of floor you have. Don't mind the puppy toys. It's as rock solid as it gets. It's concrete and hardwood directly adhered to it. So the only difference I'm getting is a little bit more of the sharpness, the impact, the precise motion. That's a little more defined. Whereas the difference between the Aura and the Buttkickers, I could definitely feel a distinct difference between an undulating bass line and a kick drum. This is like that, but not quite as much difference. It's noticeable, but either one is completely acceptable to me. So if you're on already a very solid floor, don't expect a huge difference. If you're on a floating floor, I would imagine that would be a much, much bigger difference. Our last house had a floating hardwood floor, and I didn't do anything to the couch, but using different isolation feet on my subs made a huge difference. So that is a critical aspect of what you need to do. So there you go. Hope that helps somebody. It's a small investment. It really is. I mean, you're typically not going to need the freaking 16 like I did. You might only need 4. So it's, almost no brainer. So it's worth trying no matter what kind of floor you have because it's super cheap and it is an improvement. That's it. See you next time.